All right, so chess history was made earlier this month when, for the first time in 125 games, and the first time in 2 years, Magnus Carlsen lost. Yes, so this is the longest winning streak in chess history that was just snapped by young Duda earlier this month. So we're going to take a look and analyze this fascinating game and see how exactly did Jan do the impossible and finally defeat Magnus Carlsen. All right, so let's take a look at the game. The game started off with e4, c3, d4. So we start off with the Caro-Kann variation. And okay, so this move was a very aggressive move by Magnus Carlsen. It creates a very dynamic game. Actually, Magnus Carlsen lost the last time he played this variation to Peter Svidler. And he swore to a reporter that he would never, ever play this variation again. But perhaps winning 125 straight games, perhaps the champion was feeling a little overconfident. And so he decided to play a variation which he enjoys. So knight f6, white takes. And the key here is after this e-pawn takes back, it creates a very double-edged game where black has an extra pawn in defense of his king side, but white has a pawn majority on the queen side. So if the game can ever simplify and get to an endgame, white hopes to be able to use his queenside pawn majority to create a passed pawn and gain an advantage. So let's see how the game plays out. C3. These are all theoretical developing moves. Bishop to d3, castle. Queen to c2. So white's king is still on the board, but that's okay. After the rook check, he can play knight to e2. And this is a h5. This is a very important move by black. If white were to, let's say that white were to castle kingside, you can see there is going to be some potential problems with attacking moves on the king side. So castling kingside in this scenario gives a very, very overwhelming attack to black. It would definitely be a mistake. So this h5 move is a move anticipating that. It's almost a move preventing white from castling on the king side. So, okay, black continues. White continues. Bishop to e3. Knight b7, and castle queenside. So as we mentioned before, Duda didn't want to, get into any situation where, white's pieces are going to be in an attacking position. Okay, the move b5. All right, so Magnus wants to win as black, and this move is a very aggressive move. d5. So white also is up for a fight today. Okay, so this kind of forces c5 in a way. Now, this is an interesting scenario. Can white take the b pawn? If he takes the b pawn, does this give black's pieces any kind of attacking opportunities on the queen side? Well, I don't know. This is a move where, like, if and to spoil the move, white did take, but this is a move that would be kind of hard for me to actually do in my games because, I don't trust my defensive capabilities enough, right? But these super grandmasters today, they use computer software. There is no pawns that are poison pawns anymore, it seems like. the grandmasters today are willing to snatch these pawns up and trust in their defensive capabilities that have been honed by years of computer study. Okay, so let's take a look. All right, white does take on b5 and rook b8. Pawn to c4, it kind of, defends this bishop and locks this bishop in. It also is a key defensive move, which this pawn on c4 is going to be blocking this bishop from coming into the attack here. So, pawn a6, we have bishop to a4, rook e7. So this is getting rid of this pin here. Knight to g3. Knight to e5. Centralizing that knight. Knight to e4. Now remember, white is up a pawn, so any sort of simplification of the position will probably help white. Okay, rook e to b7. Now, at this point in the game, Jan went into kind of a deep think. I'm certain that he understands that he can't allow white to take here, but he probably went into the tank just to calculate the position and see, okay, what kind of defensive resources he has here. b3 was played. All right. Rook to b4. Bishop to d2. And rook takes a4. Okay, now to us humans, this looks like a very attacking and aggressive move. You know, the queen can possibly get into the game. Yeah, and it looks kind of dangerous, but Duda calculated this variation, and he was very comfortable in his defense of the situation. And I think we can find out why Duda was comfortable in this situation after a few moves. Bishop takes on a4. Bishop to f5 with a pin on the queen. Rook d to e1. h4. Now, h4 might have been a bit too slow here. Yeah, perhaps white can play knight to g4, where after a move like f3, the bishop could take on e4. And then after recapture, maybe the knight can come back to e5. And now the knight on e5 can kind of sit here a bit. It could be protected. It's not going to get kicked off. And perhaps black could have some counter chances. Vladimir Kramnik actually did some analysis of this game during the event, and I believe that this was a scenario that Kramnik liked a little better. In any event, Magnus played h3. Yes. Okay. Sorry. Duda played h3, followed by knight g6, rook to e3, knight f4, g4, bishop to g6. And okay, this is an incredible defensive move. King to D1. Just simply moving the king away from the queen side and being very confident in his calculation in the position. Okay, so Magnus tries to exploit the king kind of moving to the center. Okay, let's open some things up here. Let's get something going for an attack. But Duda simply takes the bishop on d6, hoping to simplify the position. He's up a pawn and an exchange, so let's get to an endgame and let's win the game. Bishop takes d6. G takes on f5. Bishop to h5 check. Right? Starting to look a little dangerous, isn't it? But Duda calculates correctly that, boom, I can just play f3. Queen to f6. All right. Getting that queen into the game, trying to create some attacking chances. Maybe the rook can come here, right? All right, so let's get something going, right? But Duda calmly plays bishop to c3. Everything is kind of shut down here. Black, I mean, can Black find any kind of way to penetrate through this defense? If anyone can do it, Magnus Carlsen can do it. So let's find out what he tries. Bishop to g5. Queen to e4, centralizing that queen. All right, even now, queen g2. Magnus is trying to pull out all the tricks that he can. Rook he1, simply centralizing all of his pieces. Duda centralizes all of his white pieces, saying that, listen, I don't think that you have enough firepower to beat me. Queen takes a2, right? Oh my gosh. So it looks like, it looks like white has something, right? I mean, black has some sort of counter chances. But Duda is a great defender, finds the perfect move. Queen to c2. So there's only one move here, but it just happens to be the best move, right? Queen c2. Queen takes on c4. Rook e8 check. Now, okay, sacrificing the rook, perhaps, for a last ditch attack. Okay, so obviously, clearly taking the rook is just gonna be lost for Magnus Carlsen. So he says, okay, I'm gonna sacrifice a rook, and I'm gonna gain one tempo, and with this one tempo, perhaps I can figure out some sort of way to have white blunder or stumble upon something, right? So better to just go out in a blaze of glory than to slowly lose. So Magnus plays queen takes d5 check, queen d2, bishop takes f3 check, queen c1, queen takes f5, rook to e3. Just making sure everything is solid and defensive, making sure that Magnus Carlsen doesn't stumble into any sort of tricks, protecting the square from any checks. Knight e2 check, king b2. Knight takes c3, queen takes. So now the pieces are starting to come off the board more and more. And white can start feeling a little better about his position, but Magnus is not completely out of tricks yet. Queen f4. Queen d3 check. f5. Rook to f8. Bishop b4 check. King c1. Bishop to e4. Queen b3. Okay, so of course Magnus can't trade his queen, so queen d4. Queen c3. So the game continues a bit in this manner, with Magnus hoping to, who knows, perhaps get lucky. Perhaps figure out some sort of way to perpetual check him or something. I don't know. Magnus is just kind of reaching here. Rook f7, queen g6, rook d7, queen g1 check. You know, one thing about Magnus's amazing streak of 125 games with no losses is the fact that in positions where normal grandmasters would simply resign, Magnus will refuse to resign and will fight to the bitter end, looking for any sort of resource possible. Queen b2, c4. Now, Duda has had enough of this nonsense. He doesn't want to somehow stumble upon any kind of crazy checkmates, or he doesn't want Magnus to get lucky. So when you're up an overwhelming amount of material, sometimes it's good just to give some material back to simplify the position and win an easy game. Now it's just a mop-up crew time. All right. His pieces are defending and attacking at the same time. A rook is better than 2 pawns. And yeah, no one, not even Magnus Carlsen, can win from a position like this against Super Grandmaster. And after a few moves, pointless checks, yeah, the game is over. There's nothing Magnus can do right now. Queen h7 check. And rook e4 check. Yeah, Magnus Carlsen's streak of 125 wins is over. And the last time Jan Duda beat Magnus Carlsen, his prime minister gave him a phone call. So who knows? Maybe he'll be hearing from the prime minister again, congratulating him on an amazing achievement, defeating the greatest chess player of all time again for the second time. Yeah, so a wonderful game, and congratulations to Mr. Duda for a great accomplishment. Make sure to hit like and subscribe if you are a chess lover. Me and my friend Nishant will be analyzing games. We'll be talking about our own chess games on this channel. And yeah, so and this channel we'll be talking about a variety of things too. So not just chess, but current events, popular culture, trending topics, news, philosophy, everything. So make sure to hit like and subscribe if you like this video, and bye for now.